Glitter's Dreadlands Journey, Chapter 21. We asked Pladane about his former group and their encounter with Nightbringer. He said she was using the Cults of the Dead 3 as her pawns or something. His group found a spell and used it to seal her in the abyss. The Dead 3 are very dangerous and there's no reasoning with them. After we left the tower, I picked up the fake mirrors from the jeweler and gave one of them to Mugu to finish his quest. He didn't look very happy about that. I briefly talked with Parlong. I asked him about his death and he sounded embarrassed about it. He was a champion of Miracle, one of the Dead 3, and fought against a family of dragons. That sounds cool though, why was he embarrassed? Also, it looks like no time has passed for his mind since his death. I told the others about him and we agreed to be careful with that glass orb. Talas said they learned a new spell and could now send messages to anyone and offered to annoy Glitch. I gave them a very catchy song and the sound of Glitch's father's voice to use for that. Talas used another spell to find some info about Miracle, but I don't think I remembered it. Matthias gave me a small box with hair dyes and scale polish, mumbled something and ran away. I barely had time to thank him. The next day, me and Talas went to the town hall to see if they had any info about the Emperor's sons. We found a painting with their portraits and a history book with their names, Adri and Elama. Then we went to the Wizard Tower again and I got my updated staff. That wasn't a staff anymore, it was just the eye in the cage, but it was still useful. Jack asked again about the Nightbringer and Pladane told him she had some enchantment to reincarnate. Jack got a flask that could trap a soul as a reward for getting rid of the snake. Then all of us got a stone that we could use to send a message to each other once per day. Also, we got some magic rings. Folriel was feeling generous, I guess. Jack showed him the book Agents of Bread, but Folriel couldn't decipher it either and gave us a contact on a guy in Navalon named Alnus. Clearly a criminal. We said our goodbyes and boarded the skyship. Mogu stayed in the city, but Tomil went with us along with the crew he hired. The captain was called Jeffer. Once we were out of the fog, Talas contacted Prince Adri. He was hiding in south in a small village named Como near the city Arton and was chased by royal guards without knowing why. Of course it was Glitch's doing. Then Talas contacted Glitch and she told him my real name. Great. For the next few days she was ignoring us. When we were flying around the mountains, Matthias saw blue-skinned elves there, snow elves. We landed the ship in a forest few miles away from Como. It was near a waterfall and there were sprites in the forest, sort of fake janitors. Matthias demonstrated to us how he learned to run over water. That could be useful someday. After a few hours of walking, we saw the village. There were 2 guards on the road, so Talas and I disguised ourselves with magic and walked into the village as a performer and a bodyguard. The others sneaked around the village through the cornfields. Inside of the village there were another 10 or 12 guards. Their leader had a fancy uniform and looked grumpy. They were questioning the people. Talas started performance in the middle of the square and me, Matthias and Hildy sneaked into the house where the prince was hiding. We found him and with well-placed illusions we got him out of the town through the cornfields. We met with Talas and Jack at the edge of the forest and walked back to the skyship. But somehow we got lost and were transported into Feywild, a place with 2 heptagonal clearings, each with a single flower in its center. I used the eye for the detection spell and I saw one of them was consecrated and the other desecrated. Somehow we found out each of us saw the flowers in a different colors. Talas sent message to Pladane and he warned us from having 7 people on the clearing. There were 6 of us, including the prince, so I stepped outside just to be sure. But when Talas cast a spell on the desecrated flower, a plant-like creature appeared, grabbed them and dragged them underground. After a while, the ground started shaking and the flowers withered and died. Talas climbed up from the ground. We heard a roar of the creature and ran toward it to confront it.